All right, Daisy, you think we should start this? We'll have fun.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tai Chi for Life. And I wanted to share a little bit with you today about my Tai Chi story. How did this happen for me? And what is it good for? What do I like about Tai Chi? What am I using it for now, every day, to give a little bit of help along the way, give a little bit of what I need along the way. And here's a secret for you. I never learned Tai Chi. And, what could that possibly mean? And how can we even talk about Tai Chi now? Well, the secret there is I was really lucky. I happened to have an amazing instructor who knew some things about Tai Chi. And I had this from, very young age. And one of the things he knew about Tai Chi was that the point of learning Tai Chi wasn't to be good at Tai Chi. And so he was actually very traditional. He was going to the heart of the longest tradition of Tai Chi, the one that stretches back beyond the 800 years, beyond the 2,000 years. This is something that's very much written into philosophies of how to make people being with other people work, how to make me being with myself work. So as Tai Chi was becoming a philosophy and a practice, it was very much about how to make a town work, how to make a family work, how to make government and statesmanship, and yes, how to make a martial art that was effective, both hand to hand and on a field of battle, and then how to deal with the aftermath, how to make a healing system that actually works. And so none of this was really very much about going into a Tai Chi room and having a closed door Tai Chi ceremonial practice. There are those, but the practice itself, as my instructor knew all along, was not to honor or memorize or copy Tai Chi or what some master did. It was actually to honor, enable, and support you and your ability to be in this world, to connect with your environment, with everything that's real, that's going on around you, which is a big picture. So always Tai Chi was a big picture for me. And when I was learning it, I'm really young, I didn't know that I was learning Tai Chi. And let's get up and just do a little bit of this. And always it's something a little frustrating. It's something like, wow, that's hard. Is something coming up that I just want to get ready for? Well, guess what? Every single time I would be about to embark on anything, thanks to this way of learning, this not learning Tai Chi way of learning Tai Chi, there were always these patterns. Oh, you shake it off, and guess what? Kids everywhere and human beings everywhere have this practice, this, you kind of just shake it off. And whether something bad just happened or you're nervous about something bad coming up or something challenging, something difficult, something important that you want to get right. This is written into our human code, our what we know works in this human body. There's just the shake it off. And then, sure, Tai Chi practices have a little bit more going on where it's like, okay, let's take that and optimize it. Let's take a shake and then use it to learn about our energy. And in Tai Chi, it was never learn about energy in a way that was, okay, we're going to pretend about energy now. Funny story there. I was watching recently this show with Daisy. I have a 3-year-old now, Daisy. And it's called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. This is a very good show. And there was an episode where Cat was going to have a booth at a town fair. And so she was setting up her booth, and her friend Moose came along and sat down and said, and it said fortune teller on her sign. And so Moose came and said, "Oh, hi, Cat." And Cat said, "I am going to read your fortune." And Moose said, "Cat, why is your voice so strange?" And I immediately, I was like, I love this. And I know all of you you're picking up on this too. "Cat, why is your voice so strange? Why is that?" And Cat said, "Because I am a fortune teller, and I am going to make up your fortune." Moose was like, "Okay." And it went on from there. And it was just such a great reminder of really the concept of diagnosis and self-diagnosis, which is written into Tai Chi and Qigong. And here the diagnosis, which, we just know as humans, when someone talks in a fake voice, whether it's very constricted up here or somehow pretending about, "I am very zen," whatever it is, when that's happening, it means the person is, or me, if it's in me, I'm making something up. I'm pretending about something. I'm not comfortable with what I'm doing, so I need to wear a mask of some sort. And that can take many forms. It might be a voice, it could be a bunch of other things, but written right into "if you give a mouse a cookie" is Tai Chi diagnosis. And here's one of the things I love about Tai Chi, and I might be a broken record. There's so much that I love about Tai Chi. One of the things I really love is this, that you can be doing, practicing, benefiting from Tai Chi without ever knowing that you've learned or practiced Tai Chi. The ability to do self-diagnosis in something as simple as shake it off. Well, first, that you did the shake it off meant that you know that you needed to shake it off. So you knew something was maybe a little tense, some part of you a little rigid, some part of you working a little too hard, getting seized up, immobilized in some way. So you shake it off to mobilize yourself, to let go of rigidity and tension that gets in the way of what you really are. Of what you really are is all of you coming into doing what you want to do. Your body wants you to be able to do what you want to do. Your environment wants you to be able to do what you want to do. But things get in the way of that. Well, Tai Chi, whether you think of it as Tai Chi or not, it's written into our humanity, our biological design, which is why there are so many different ways of coming to it, to support that, to be able to go effectively and sustainably where you want to go. So here, just like Moose did a diagnosis on Cat of, hey, you're not comfortable with what you're doing. You're pretending, you're making something up. It's not real. It's not you. This, as a Qigong practice, is a way of learning about your energy. And that's not learning about pretend energy. That's wave propagation. So when you give yourself a shake, you're seeing right away, does the energy that I'm putting into the middle of my arm here to make this shake, does it stop here? Does it stop with my upper body, so I can feel it up in my shoulders, but nothing going on down here? Where does it stop? And what that means is if it stops somewhere, let's say it stops here. Well, you can do this as an experiment. You can hold your shoulder up a little bit so you're putting effort into here. And then if you shake from your elbow, you're not going to feel anything past here in the rest of you. There's not going to be a wave propagation or reverberation or wiggle or shimmy in the rest of you. There is no rest of you from the perspective of this. So if you wanted to move your, let's say your leg, and you have this movement up here, well, the two things are going to be unrelated. It might be kind of like this. It would just be two different bodies. Or if you don't feel anything in your lower body, but there's this shimmy up here, then it's, what am I doing? So it could be a dropping a shoulder and really remobilizing. Oh, it could be taking a bit of a walk and a bit of a shimmy and, okay, now my lower body is connected to my center. So, Now when I do this, I feel vibration through my whole body. That's self-diagnosis right there. Tai Chi, Qigong have created something where I can see, am I mobilized? Is it easy for me to move as one me? And then from there, that moves into connection. So again, without me knowing that I was learning Tai Chi or studying a certain system for everything, I knew, well, of course, if I want to pick myself up, if I've got this mobilized, wiggleable, all of me, pretty much just one me body, if I take a breath, that's gonna pick me up. My whole body is gonna respond to a big deep breath in. So if I want to lift something, if I want to do something, I'll probably take a big breath to lift and also lift my attention. And by the way, there's a chemistry behind that. It's both physical and chemical, neurological. And then if I want to settle, if I want to make it a little bit easier to do something, we all know it's another form which is both physical, chemical, neurological, all of the above. We all know to take a really and especially we know an even longer exhale than inhale. That's also written into our biological design. And guess what? In every part of Tai Chi, the first thing in a movable body is to create a relationship between your body and your breath, so your breath moves you. Gives you a pickup in your body and your attention, and makes it easier for whatever's coming next. It settles you, makes it easier for you to move, makes it just more gentle in you. It's another antidote for rigidity and tension, for disconnection and force. And that also could be completely without, I'm learning Tai Chi, because it's in our biological design, connection. And that's breath connection, and then center connection. So right from the start, I knew, well, hey, if I want to get my arm to move somewhere, isn't that neat? If I want my arm to go up here, I can actually have this wiggleable, connected, all easy going, easy to be here body. I can use my center to move my arm up here, or I can use my center to move my legs around. So there's no, there's no kicky or punchy in Tai Chi. It's always one whole body moving really easily as one whole body to go where you need to go. Whether it's big movements or small movements, it's all coming from center. And so when I went to become a rower, I wasn't by far the biggest or strongest, but it felt very natural. My patterns were get everything wiggleable and movable. Don't just because I'm working and I feel work up here, it's in my pattern not to lock up here. It's in my pattern to have wave propagation, to have energy moving freely and openly in my whole body. And it's also in my pattern to have my breath be what initiates my movement. And it's also in my pattern to have it be my center that initiates and the rest of me follows. My center that initiates and follows, and center that. So because then my whole body was controlled from my center, just very basically, it was able to get more power before depletion into the ore, and also move more gently and gracefully, because maybe rather than deplete one part of me at a time and just really be forcing everything, because I could use all of me, and that's in my pattern through mobility and connection. It didn't become miserable for me as soon. So when what you're up to doesn't become miserable as soon, then there's more of you that's available to think about, the finer points of technique. And so I was the one who was the stroke. And that progressed, pretty well. And it wasn't because I thought I was doing Tai Chi in the boat. It was because I had learned these principles which are practiced in Tai Chi, even if you don't know you're practicing Tai Chi. And they're principles for being better at being human. They're foundations for making a better connection with me and then with anyone. So that's mobility and connection. And then position, it's, okay, well, I would never think of standing with my legs squeezed together and then trying to move. I would always think of, well, what's a good position to hold where I am and where I want to go next? And so in learning Tai Chi, if you've got a wiggleable body, it's all connected through your center, and your breath is helping maintain this ease instead of a gradual buildup of stress and tension. Well, then this one wiggleable body, whatever you're doing connected from your center, your base is always free to remake itself in a way that supports where you want to go next. And so this is a little bit my Tai Chi story, and what I think makes Tai Chi for life. When I finally set out much later to learn what we all see in the field of the people doing this beautiful Tai Chi-like dance, the sequence together, there's kind of this fork in the road. If you start there, then where you might end up is trying to memorize that sequence to copy what you see. And that's really hard because it's totally new. And it appears to involve very precise placements of every single part of you. And that can be really tough, especially if the movement is not move and then stop, which would then give you time to get every individual part in the right place, and then move and then stop. Well, Tai Chi doesn't do that. Tai Chi is a practice for building grace and coordination, whole body supporting a whole body, and that requires continuous movement, slow continuous movement. So without that moving and stopping, this isolated, disconnected approach really doesn't work very well. Manipulating one part at a time doesn't work very well for the Tai Chi sequence. So it can be very hard if the first thing is to learn that sequence. But for my Tai Chi, the first thing, that didn't come, again, the fellow that I learned with, he was really good. He knew what I could do and what would be effective for me and what wouldn't. And for that reason, the sequence, even me knowing that what I was patterning in my body, knowing that that was Tai Chi, didn't come until way later. So when I approached the sequence, I already had these patterns of mobility, connection, and position, moving my whole body as one whole body from center. So if I was doing something, no matter how easy or how hard, it was going to be all of me doing it, which was always going to give me the best chance of being able to do it and do it in the best possible way for me. Because it's all of me. It's not just, well, I've built up strength here, so I'm just going to push my way through to that. That wasn't a pattern that I had that came from this practice. And so when the sequence happened, sure, it was new. Sure, there was a lot going on. But there was very much this habit of, well, always what I'm doing, no matter how daunting, no matter how challenging, no matter how new, hey, I've always got this thing. I've got mobility. I know how to mobilize myself before I move. I've got connection. I know how to have all of me be one whole me between my breath and my body and my center and all of me, so that all of my parts are in on the party equally. Everything I have can be helping everything inside me, and then everything I have can be connecting effectively with the whole environment. And that's the beauty of Tai Chi. Another thing I love about it is that it's not just a connection with yourself, it's then taking into practice a connection with other people. That's when it gets really interesting. And then position. always having a base that, I would never think to sit and talk to you like this. And already that would change my voice. It would make it strange because I've got some isolated, weird effort going on. Oh, I would always be in a pretty wide, stable base that supports what I want to do. So if I want to move a hand, it can move like that. If I want to lift and get bigger, it can begin with my breath and involve all of me. If I want to walk one way or the other, all of me can move pretty easily. I can be where I am pretty easily, and I can go where I want to go next pretty easily, wherever that might be, from having a good base. And so all of that was in my habit when I came to Tai Chi as a sequence. And that really helped get through new and challenging. And it helped with everything else too. So it's a way of saying, when I was coming into my Tai Chi for life story was, when I was coming into Tai Chi, I was really coming into, how can I be better at being human? How can I be better in this body, everything I have working together? And how can I make better connections also with another person? So that if I'm coming in, let's say this is another person and I'm coming in, I've learned how to temporarily have someone else become part of my base, and have someone else's energy become part of my energy for that temporary connection that I can form with someone, so that that connection moves me and enables me. That energy can move me and enable me. So if I'm coming back here, it's not that I'm doing all of this in isolation from everyone else, And even as I say that, it's like, oh, that's never true. Even if it feels that way, that's never true. Well, Tai Chi, long before I knew it was Tai Chi, was always, going to come into connection with someone else. Well, then the sequence is to move back. But I'm moving back because here's this person coming in, and if I'm connected as one whole body, this person coming into me is going to move me. And then as I'm here, this person coming back is going to, if I have a connection with this handy person here, this person coming back, we're going to move together as a shared base and shared movement energy to support movement all around in every direction. So I would never think of, well, I'm doing all this on my own. All of this, whatever this is, depends upon my isolated and disconnected abilities. Well, Tai Chi gives a pattern of, hey, that's never true. It gives a habit of, there's always a complete environment around me. And I think some of you have done maybe chair yoga with Tara, where I don't have a chair right here, but there's always this environment. So if I'm standing up or sitting down, or I want to take a load off my legs, there's always this, there's a world around me to do that. And we all know as human beings, leaning on a wall can allow this leg to unweight, or having a convenient chair or footstool around. If I connect with that chair, I'm going to breathe, settle, connect, and then this chair, imaginary chair here, becomes part of my base as I stand up and sit down. And it's never a straight up and straight down with the isolated strength of my thighs, which will then have a first breakdown point of my knees at some point, old or young. This hits young people too. But if I've got this chair here, this chair can be part of my base as I move up and down. Always there's an environment around you that is here to help and support you if you recognize that. And so again, Tai Chi for me and Tai Chi for life was a practice of recognizing everything around me as nothing operates in isolation. Nothing hurts, heals, or prospers in isolation from everything else. So when Tai Chi came along and there was this ritualized form that involved coming in where there's a movement to come into someone's center, well, of course the arm didn't need to memorize how it would move, because my base would be created from my center and the arm would move along for the ride of my center. And I was making a center-to-center connection to another person. And of course, this form here, whether it's up here, would be seeking the center of another person, because no matter what's going on in the extremities, even those extremities that can be very loud, how you really learn about your environment, about another person, about yourself, what's actually going on and what someone's actually going to do, is by connecting with their center, going to the very heart of something. No matter how loud the shouting might be out here, what actually is going on is here. And that didn't need to come from a memorizing Tai Chi movements. It came out of a habit of always connecting to my center, always mobilizing myself before I move, connecting all of me together through center and through my breath, and allowing my position to be constantly recreating itself to give good support to where I am and where I might want to go next. Never suffering a bad position. And that was another thing. This never suffering or holding on to a bad position just because it's my position in Tai Chi. Well, I'll let you extrapolate and see where that carries you for the rest of life. But this was a beauty for me of Tai Chi, where I learned it without memorizing it. I learned its foundations long before I ever got to its techniques. And then when the techniques and sequences, little tricks for making good connections, when all of that came later, and little tricks come along. If the context is healing, yes, there are techniques. If the context is a martial one, yes, there are techniques. But those don't work in isolation. They only make sense and are effective if everything else is working, if everything else in me is mobilized, connected, and properly supported. Good position that can recreate itself in line with what's actually happening everywhere around me. And so now, this brings me through to today. The way Tai Chi is in my life now is, hey, whatever I'm doing, if I'm in the car, just chasing after my 3-year-old, challenging conversation, whether it's behind me or coming up, challenging anything, I have it in my pattern, in my habit, to actually recognize and support my human biology, not to be separate from that, not to ever have had a pattern of, I need to practice rigidity and tension in order to be good at being stressed. Because that would be one way of practicing. And there are practices that involve that, stressing yourself out so you're better at handling stress. Well, the science of stress has progressed way past where that makes any sense. We have enough of the chemical stress state in our lives already, and it's not a good place to be for our bodies or our minds. So always in my pattern was how to hit a physical and chemical reset button, whether it's such a difference, just a few breaths like that, or such a difference to have a self-diagnosis tool where it's like, okay, a little this, and is everything okay? Or is there some of this going on because I've been doing this for too long, or this for too long, or this for too, is there a place where energy physically and flowingly is not flowing? To be able to see that, give myself a wiggle, let it go, and come back into being one whole me. Well, Tai Chi and Qigong are always there for that. So that when I go and I open a door, a fridge door, well, that opening the fridge door can be always a practice. Everything can be always a practice of hitting a reset button to let go of stress, rigidity, and tension, because those are just realities. And I'm never going to not have any of them. I accept that. But I have a pattern and a habit and practices that I know that can hit that reset button. And then I have practices I know, like this, that can give me the ability to have to remember that at least half of me can be resting all the time, even in the middle of a lot going on. So always my weight's pulling out of this one and giving this half of me the ability to just release, relax, let go. And when you make a connection with another person too, when that person's moving in, you have this opportunity to have this beautiful experience of being moved by someone else's effort, someone else's energy, by the environment around you, even if that environment around you is this. And then as I lean away, the momentum of leaning away, and then maybe a little bit of, in this case, I'm going to use a little bit of my arm, because my base is way leaning here, a little bit of my arm to just allow all of the rest of me to have this experience of being moved, where if it was another person, it would be that other person's energy. And that's amazing to learn through a practice and re-enter into our pattern that our environment supports, adds to our base, and gives us energy. And so for me, my Tai Chi is, the Tai Chi for life is, it's here all the time. It's here to make here easier. It's here to make where I want to go next more effective. Not because I am, some extremely powerful superhero, some anomaly of a person who's very strong in one part of me or very flexible in another part, or has like some super processing power, but because when we take all of what we are, the design we have, what we've been given, and all of around us, and can bring all of that together so that it's all helping and it's all part of it, well, then we are superheroes. And then we can sustainably and more powerfully, more effectively do pretty much anything. And so that's Tai Chi for life. And I'll give you a last example of how there's always ways of putting more, of getting better with mobilizing yourself, getting better with connecting with yourself and then with other people, mobilizing yourself and then helping other people to mobilize themselves. Forming a good base to support what you're doing, to connect and help other people learn how to make a good base to support what they're doing, and to never suffer a bad base, to always be in an act of recreating to make better, because that's life. Out of the flow, suddenly could be, improvement doesn't matter. I need to get better. Well, I think it's pretty unusual that we could get to a point where not only do we think that we individually in isolation don't need to get better, but that we would actually honestly look around and say, this doesn't need to get better. And the truth is, the honest thing is, this is always here. We are always part of a big picture. There is always an environment around that is here to support, to help to make better, ways of connecting with other people that can give that to us so that we're never in isolation or disconnection. We're always in connection and harmony and an ability to support. And so all of this, when you realize, well, this is never me in isolation. This is me in a big picture. Well, the last story is I went out to, we have a swing in our yard over here. It's a hammock swing. Daisy loves going in the hammock, and she will love going in the hammock for half an hour or an hour at a time. And so I stand over at the hammock is attached to two trees. I stand by one tree and I connect my hand in, and so I'll come in and I'll connect my hand in. And then the practice is, okay, how do I create the right base, the right moving from center? So a bit of me a bit of this is the hammock is part of my base and the tree is part of my base now. And then part of this is me giving energy into the hammock in the most efficient way possible. And then part of this is figuring out, well, how can this swinging motion, the energy of this swinging motion, its momentum, the environment here be allowed to move me so that I'm not the isolated originator of force, but now there's a whole system around me that can, and then it starts to get really interesting where it's, okay, here, this movement of the swing is suddenly something that, there's some really cool stuff that's going on where I can be moved while I'm also moving something. I can support while I'm also being supported by something. I can create while my whole reality is also being created. And this is just, sounds funny, but this is just me and Daisy and a hammock in the backyard. And so I hope that that's helpful in some way, seeing that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, that there are these foundations, whether you call it Tai Chi or not. But it's very much Tai Chi. There's these foundations for how to connect with yourself, how to mobilize yourself, how to position yourself so that you're never isolated, always connected, always supported to get where you want to go and to be better where you are by everything all around you. So I hope this helps. Thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to keeping going together here.